Hello, this is Paolo Ciccone with Preta 3D, and this is the second part of the tutorial on how to use ACSEL and ACSEL Share in Reality 2. This is the render that we prepare at the end of part 1, and this showed the materials that we configured for this radio, this World War II beautiful radio. So the point here is, now that we have the materials configured correctly, we don't want to go through that process every time we use this model. After all, if we bought this model, the intention is to use it and reuse it and reuse it. Today we might be creating a war scene in studio, and tomorrow we might be using this radio inside an antique store. The point is, an object can be reused in multiple different situations, and once we configure the right look, we want to have that look consistently in our scenes. We don't want to change the parameters every time, and that is a waste of time. The first time, you do it for artistic reasons. Beyond that, it's just useless repetition. And that is why I invented ACSEL. ACSEL is the automatic custom shader loader. And what that means is that once you create a custom shader or a shader set, a custom shader set, like in this case, well, you want to just tell Reality, look, this is how I want to have the materials for this model. So from now on, use this configuration. And when you do it right, Reality will say, yes, sir, and from that moment on, we'll continue using this shader set automatically. So how is it done? Let me show you. Let's go back to Studio, and let's close this. So this is our scene as we left it in part 1. And let me show you one thing first, because this radio actually comes in 2 different flavors if you want. So let me open the content library, and here we can see that there is a BC348, and that was not what I meant to do, and a BC348 dirty. So we worked on the dirty version, and let me just remove the duplicate here. All right, so we worked on the dirty version, and it's important that we know this difference, because this particular shader set we created applies to the rusted version, to the dirty version. The new, seemingly new model, totally different paint structure if you want, so we don't want to mix the two. So let's remember that, and I'll show you why that is important. Let's go ahead and call Reality. And in here, we have our materials. All right. So right now, they are just flagged as modified. And we have our custom metal, we have our custom bump map, and all that stuff. All right. So what I'm gonna do is simple. I'm gonna click on this, on the first material, and then on the last one by holding the Shift key. Now we can see that the face panel has now been changed, so we don't need to include this in our save, in our pre-made configuration. So I just press Command on the Macintosh or Control on Windows and click on the material to deselect it. So now that we have all the materials selected, what I need to do is to give a command to Reality to save this shader set, this collection of shaders that is called a shader set, to save this shader set as an ACSEL shader. And what that means is that once the operation is finished, Reality will understand that from now on we want to use this configuration when we use that model. So we go into the shader operations menu and we select Save for ACSEL. Now we have two possibilities. We can save it as a default configuration or as a customization, because this is a custom texture inside the model, so it's not the default, it's not the, the new radio look, it's the dirty radio look. We want to select customization, and when we select customization, we have to give a label for this set of shaders. So I'll call it dirty radio. Okay, and then I press OK. And I did this before, so Reality is asking me if I want to overwrite the predefinition I had. Say, okay, I want to do it. Normally this would not happen. It's just I had the dry run to be sure that this tutorial will come up correctly. So now we have our ACSEL shader here. And basically Reality is telling us, look, you have a pre-made shader set and it's called Dirty Radio. Now, how is this making our life any easier? Let me show you. We close Reality and then we create a new scene, brand new studio scene, okay? So now everything is empty. There are no Reality parameters. Everything is being cleared, memory is being erased. If I create a plane, and I resize it to create kind of a floor, and I call Reality, we see that there's nothing else but this plane. So all the parameters for the radio are gone. So let's add the radio, the dirty one, back to the scene. And now, without doing anything special, we call Reality. And Reality will scan the radio and automatically load our ACSEL preset. And that is exactly what the A in ACSEL means, automatic. I haven't done anything special. I don't have to load a shader, I don't have to find the files. It's all done automatically. And in fact, not only the presets are loaded in the right way, but ACSEL can turn a material from the default of glossy to the metal preset that we defined before. And here we have a custom metal configured. We have our texture, we have our 8000 level of polish, so everything is ready. Everything is ready from the get-go. You don't have to do anything special. You just have to supply the lighting for your new scene, and the prop works exactly as expected. In fact, we can see our material preview here. All right, so let's do something special here. Let's add a light. I'm going to use my new curved light. The curved light is right there. It's a little too high, so we're going to bring it down. Okay. And we are going to make it a little closer. So let's switch the top view. That's the curved light. So we're going to go closer. All right. Back to default camera. And this is just to create a new scene, a a new frame. Okay, can get really close. Let's call reality and make sure that I have a new scene name, radio test. Radio test. I'm gonna reduce this a little bit, and no changes. It's like totally default now. This is the new default, and let's click on render frame and see if this radio will come up rendered in the exact same way with all the materials correct. Okay, let me change the exposure to probably a quarter, that's a little too much, 1/8. Okay, and we can scale down, zoom out, and it works. There you go. Perfect replica of our custom setup. So from this point on, the only thing we need to do is to drop the model in the scene, call reality, and it's all set to go. So that is the power of ACSEL. And basically every time you create a new customization for a shader, save it for ACSEL. In that way you don't have to repeat those same steps ever. It's an amazing time saver. Now, this is all good for me. I just created a great shader set and it works perfectly in my scenes. From now on, every time I use this model inside one of my scenes, I get the best results possible. Fantastic. But what about letting other people get the same results? What about sharing this shader set? That is what ACSEL Share is all about. Sharing of shaders is built in reality. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to publish specs, tell people how to do it. You just need to press one button and share your shader set, and automatically all other people, all the other reality users will be notified of the availability of this new shader set, and they will be able to use it. So now if we all do this one piece at a time, we are going to create an incredible library of excellent shaders. And it doesn't take that much to understand if you really should post this, because you just do a before and after comparison, as we did at the beginning of this tutorial. We see the model as it comes out of the default conversion, and then with just a few changes, we made it better. And when it looks even just marginally better, then why don't you share it? It is easily done by clicking on the ACSEL Share tab, and then by pressing the refresh button in there. To do that, Reality fetches the list of shaders available from the server, shaders that are not installed on my machine, and they are presented in the top list. In the lower area of the screen, there is a list of local shader sets. Those are the ones that I created and they are ready to be shared. All I have to do now is to select one or more shader sets and then click on the Share button. Before I do that, I need to do a couple of things. First of all, I need a product description here, because, well, Reality doesn't know what is the name of the product. Unfortunately, there isn't any kind of database available. So what I can do here is to click twice. So I click once, I click twice, and the description can be edited, and I'll just say World War II radios. Okay, And here in the set description, I want to give the description for this specific set. And this is Rusted BC348. Now I have the name for the product, and I have the name for this specific shader set. Well, all I have to do is to simply click on Share. And it's done. Now we see that the shader has been removed from my list, and it is actually on the ACSEL Share list. Verify this by going to the ACSEL.preta3d.com website and click on the shader catalog. Now we see all the list of shaders available. So this is all that it takes to share shaders using the ACSEL Share system. When other people will look at the list of the shaders here, they will see the World War II radio shader set, and they will be able to install it with one click. And we can actually simulate that by clicking on Include My Submissions and clicking on Refresh again. That you would expect to see your own submissions in the top list. But as you can see right now, the World War II radios are not there. So why is that? This reality automatically filters out the shaders that are already installed on your computer. So you need to do this, and you also need to click on Include Installed Shaders. And that will list everything that is the database, including the shaders that are already installed in your own local database. Is World War II radios. The set name is Dirty Radios, which is Rusted BC348, and this is the author. So now this is what people will see. Immediately install it by simply highlighting it and clicking on Install. We don't need to do that because we already have the shader. We created it. So this is the essential about ACSEL and ACSEL Share. I hope it was informative. Please don't forget to visit our website dedicated to ACSEL at ACSEL.preta3d.com, where you can find all kind of content related to ACSEL, including a searchable catalog of all the shaders available. This is Paolo Ciccone for Preta 3D, 3D that is ready to wear. Thank you for watching.